Pro boxing fans here in Manchester with Oliver Spencer. Another fight week comes. Firstly, how are you? I know you've been a bit busy with TalkSport and the back and forth from Eddie Hearn and Simon Jordan, but how are you?
Yeah, listen, I'm really good, mate. Yeah, it's been a busy week or so. Looking forward to Saturday night as well. Lawrence Okolie, David Light, brilliant fight. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing Lawrence Okolie back in the ring, defending his WBO Cruiserweight title against the undefeated David Light. But a guy I think stylistically is made for Lawrence Okolie. I think this fight is going to be over, mate, within 4 rounds. David Light has got ambition. He comes to fight, carries his left hand quite low, but when he comes out in straight lines. He leans back a little bit. Stylistically, that could be a nightmare for someone like Okolie, who's like 6'5", long range. He's also teamed up with Sugar Hill, which is a great matchup as well. I was watching him in the gym last night, and they're working on some beautiful stuff, like doubling up on a jab, stepping back, coming through with a right hand. So if it happens like that and it ends like that, you heard it here first. Jab, step back, boom, right hand, it could be over.
But it's not a bad fight to be involved in after such a long time out. We know he's had legal disputes with Matchroom and everything else. Good fight, new trainer. It is a good fight to get back into, right?
Listen, when you've been through what he's been through for the last sort of year, like sort of, you know, because he's been going from one promoter to another, and I know they've had issues outside of that, legal stuff going on or whatever, he will be chomping at the bit to get back in there now. You know, there's some big fights out there for him. We saw that incident at Creed 3 with him and Riakporhe. There's Chris Smith who's fighting in May the 27th. That's possibly for a world title down in Bournemouth. There's some big fights there for him on the British scene, let alone on the world scene. So Lawrence will be chomping at the bit to put in a performance here and make a statement, and you know, I believe he'll do that.
He's got some massive fights ahead. We just look at this weight division. You've got Richard Riakporhe. He's got his good friend that he's talking about, Chris Smith. He said, listen, there's not a lot of people that like in boxing, but Chris is one of them, and if you fight, you know, we'd make money, so we could have that fight. If not, it goes up to heavyweight. He's talked about that before. A lot of fights at heavyweight as well. Just in a very, very good position in this time of his career.
Yeah, he is, mate, and I believe he does go into heavyweight. Like I say, 6'5", he's got big shoulders, and you wonder how much longer he's going to stay at cruiserweight, and he's got the power of a heavyweight. You know, it's going to be interesting, mate, to see him move up. I know he spars a lot of heavyweights, big name heavyweights, and I know he does very well against them as well. So he will be a welcomed addition when the time is right to move up to heavyweight. I know a lot of people may say, he's going to be too small. Cruiserweights do have success up at heavyweight. Look at Alexander Usyk. You know, even going back to like Evander Holyfield. You know, he's a heavyweight great. What I'm saying is they can make them adjustments, and I think Okolie will be one of those guys.
Obviously, Lawrence is somebody that Sky are trying to make him the face of Sky Sports Boxing for Boxer. Eddie's obviously come out and said in that Simon Jordan debate that they had, that we'll talk about later on, that at the moment the reason why people leave the zone is because there's other people involved in boxing who are paying fighters over the odds, who don't understand the commercial value. He's also then gone on to say that, not in that thing, but said it looks like boxers are going to be giving out tickets because they're going to be struggling to sell tickets for Okolie this Saturday. Whilst Sky are trying to push him out to be the face of boxing, there's a lot of people saying that maybe he's not selling the tickets, maybe he's not that person that people are going to watch every time he fights. What's your response to that?
Listen, who knows? We'll see on Saturday night. Maybe he's not putting the bums on seats that is expected of him right now, but maybe that's to come in the future. You know, I think it's all about consistency, building your profile, showcasing your skills. Lawrence Okolie, who's now 18-0 with 14 KOs, for me, I've always known the potential's there, but there's always been something missing. Like, you know, he's been in some fights that have not been very attractive, a bit ugly to watch. You know, he's come through, he's scraped his way through, but in the last few fights, he seems to have nailed it. He's found that distance, he's controlling the space, his boxing IQ's good, he's got a massive right hand that can take opponents out with one shot. So I think the best is to come for Lawrence, I really do. And you know, you speak to him, he's very charismatic, and you know, he's a good guy. So let's see what happens over the next 12 months or so, if they can keep him regular, get him in these fights that we need to see, maybe unification bouts. For me, like, I want to see him in there with Billy Smith. I want to see him in there with Riakporhe. They're the sort of fights I see for the British public to really get excited about a really good cruiserweight division that we've got at the moment.
Riakporhe is the one that sticks out. They've had a bit of a back and forth before. At the Creed premiere, they got into a bit of a tussle. It seems that that's got all the needed and all the hype needed already for that fight to sell. Is that the fight you want to see out of all the names you picked?
Absolutely. Riakporhe now believes in himself a lot more than he did, say, 12 months ago. He's always had that rawness about him and that power, that unbelievable power. The confidence is starting to kick in there as well now. As he's getting older and developing into a more mature fighter, he's looking more seasoned. That's a fight I want to see, man. Him and Riakporhe would be absolutely sensational.
I do want to talk about, I'll move away from this, is the whole Simon Jordan Eddie Hearn thing. You said you were there. You came into the studio straight after Eddie left. I do want to ask you though, when he came back to Jim White after the first break, he said there was a lot of personal stuff traded in between the break. You watched all of this. What was said in between the break?
Come on, mate. Come on, man. What happens in this gallery or the studio stays in the studio. Yeah, look, there was some heated exchanges. Let's just say that.
Hey, Jim White said it was personal.
It was personal. Okay. It was personal. They were both giving as good as they got. You know, if you judged it as a fight, mate, they would come out swinging, the pair of them. They were letting the shots go, man. You know, like they were giving as good as they got. Yeah, off air was more entertaining than on air, if I'm totally honest. I mean, on air we saw some good stuff and a lot of stuff going near the mark, but off air was equally as good as well, mate. Yeah, I would like to see the rematch at some point.
It's crazy though, because Eddie's obviously a promoter. Simon's sort of this figurehead in radio, in broadcast right now, and they did about what's it on, about 360,000 views that 1 hour clip. It's crazy, right?
I think it's got even bigger now. Like, you know, and you've got to remember the audience that they had watching live. Like about 2 million people watching that live, or like listening to that live. They had like 360 odd. I think they had 37,000 people on live at one, but yeah, on the YouTube branching away. I think overall there was 200,000 or 300,000 watching on YouTube. The audience listening was maybe 2 million. Like, mate, the numbers, when you talk about 2 million people listening to a radio station, that equates to about 5 million people. Because it's not just one person per radio. You know what I mean? It might be on an office, it could be anywhere. So it's a massive audience, man, huge audience. Talk Sport's blowing up right now.
It's got probably, I think someone tweeted that it's got probably the best content out there for boxing. Right now, you've had Anthony Joshua on there, you've had Frank Warren and Alex Krasich on there at the same time. Good stuff. Who won that contest for you?
Oh, listen, mate, it was one of those ones, you know, like, look, Simon never got the answers that he kept pushing for. You know, Eddie sort of went round it a little bit, and the whole thing really was centred around Conor Benn, this situation with the British Boxing Board of Control, him not presenting the evidence that he says that he's got to clear his name to the Boxing Board, which doesn't make any sense, because, you know, it's all right saying, oh yeah, you're going to go out and box in Abu Dhabi and possibly Chris Eubank Jr. next in June or whatever, but that doesn't clear your name, mate. The public perception right now, your name's not great, so to do that, present the evidence. If you've got the evidence, the British Boxing Board of Control says you have to be responsible for what goes into your body, and you need the evidence to explain why it's in your system. So like saying, you know, contamination, this and that, well, if you've got the evidence, they're serious. That's how you're going to clear the name, you know.
I listened to a lot of Adam Cattrall and Nick P on the Fight Disciples, and they made a very good point that obviously that dossier, the 270-page dossier, if it can clear his name, why isn't that presented to the British Box?
That's the point. That's the point we're making. That was the point Simon was making to Eddie. He sort of didn't go to, and they was talking about the WBC and all that. Well, fucking the WBC that doesn't really mean anything. The WBC putting him back into the rankings doesn't clear your name, does it? To clear your name, you have to present the evidence. And they're sitting on that for whatever reason at the moment. Eddie said in the studio on Thursday, or was it Tuesday, he said in the studio that it was because of legal reasons they wasn't doing that. So let's wait and see what happens.